Chiefs Kingdom. Welcome into the AP breakdown of your 2-0 Chiefs. That's what we'll be doing tonight. Definitely got to be excited about that. I am arrowheadpride.com lead analyst Ron Kopp Jr. With me, as always, Caleb James, great film analyst for the site. We both love getting into it at CJ Scoobs on Twitter. Caleb, we are 2-0. Chiefs are 2-0. But as people can see by the title, we might be looking at, with a critical look tonight. How you feeling going into AP breakdown?
It's awesome that the Chiefs are 2-0. I think that, honestly, two of the tougher games on the schedule that were identified at the beginning of the season were these two games.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot was riding on them as far as AFC playoff positioning goes. And they came out and took care of two teams who we kind of think will be there in the long run against them in the end. Even if both of those teams did start out 0-2, Ravens getting upset, the Bengals doing their usual slow start routine before they kick it into gear. But all in all, it's awesome that they are 2-0. You know, they've got the big target on their back. There are some things that we are going to have to look at tonight that, weren't the greatest. There's still room for improvement, but that's the good thing, is that they're still managing to find ways to win, and they're still pulling out these tough games.
Yeah, I mean, ugly wins better than pretty losses, as they say, and that was a vintage Arrowhead game, man. Scoop and score touchdown. Lineman catching a touchdown. Just some wacky stuff going. I mean, we'll get into it, but Mahomes, throwing some weird picks. But I think everyone was coming away from that game. I think one of the biggest things was the left tackle position, right? Kingsley Suamataia getting benched towards the end of the game. And that was just, after the second half, Trey Hendrickson just went to work on him. You're going to get into it leading off the show here, because I think that was maybe the biggest takeaway from this game, because, obviously, the defense did what it could. It got stops in the red zone. It made plays. The offense, the run game was working, but the pass game really was just kind of struggling. And when they needed it, could not get it done at points. It was kind of Mahomes and Suamataia is kind of the two figureheads of that, I feel like. So let's get into it. Take it away.
Yep. And let's get rolling here. And real quick, we're getting ready to be critical of a rookie player. Number one, that should be pointed out. Now, I did write an article earlier last week, my little preview kind of leading up to the game, and it was called "The Chiefs Must Account for Trey Hendrickson." Let's not get lost in all of this, that Trey Hendrickson is an all-pro caliber player.
Yes.
He was second in the league in sacks last year. He's consistently been a thorn in the Chiefs' sides. That being said, and a lot of people are like, well, we can give Kingsley a pass. And to some extent you can, but to the other extent, it's the NFL. This isn't a fair league. There's not going to, you don't get extra points just because you haven't been in the league very long and you're going against a really good player. Could the Chiefs have maybe helped him out a little bit more with some chip blocks, with some stuff like that? Sure, they could have. It wasn't really in the game plan. It's something they're trying to get away from. But I think it's important. We're going to try to be critical tonight without completely tearing him down, because he is a young player. He has shown a few flashes here through the first couple of weeks of the season, but it's important to identify what the issues are, because, Ron, like you mentioned, this team should try to three-peat. If Kingsley Suamataia was starting for the Carolina Panthers, no one would care. They'd give him as much time as he needs, but he's got a lot of scrutiny on him already because he's coming to play for the champs, and he's playing an incredibly critical position. And by the way, the Chiefs do play almost every elite pass rusher in the NFL this season. They actually do. So let's get into it. It's not going to be pretty, but it's just important that we get through it and we see, where can he improve at? And yeah, not great. Giving up a sack there, Hendrickson all over him. And you can see Hendrickson's lining up wide. So here's the first issue I kind of have with what Kingsley does here. He comes out of his stance. He's a little bit late out of his stance. You're not going to win too well against Trey Hendrickson when you're a little late out of your stance. And we'll play it back again. But the first thing he does, here's the first thing that's wrong. And here, I'll give you an example over here. Juwan Taylor is square to his man. He's square to the line of scrimmage. He's doing the right thing. Juwan Taylor's typically puts himself in a good position to win a lot of reps. And I do think he's actually played better this season for the most part. You look over here at Kingsley, though, he's not square to the line of scrimmage. He is turned to the sideline. What this does when he turns to the sideline is you see the goalpost right there, and you see Pacheco kind of coming around the end there. What this does is it cuts down the angle. He's making it easier on Trey Hendrickson. You see 58, he still has to go all the way around Juwan or try to come back inside, and that just takes time. Trey Hendrickson, as we're getting ready to see here, he just blows into him, and Kingsley's hands are bad here. He is not winning the hand battle or the leverage battle. He's getting bulled back, and you see how deep he's getting pushed in the pocket, but you see where, and Juwan has started to turn here, but he did it a lot later to where he can kind of ride it out now. Kingsley turns so quick now, and he's pushed so far into the pocket that all Trey Hendrickson has to do there, he throws that rip, and he's already got the angle. And on the counter side, 58's trying to do something, some sort of a rip move, but Juwan is able to lock him up and kind of keep him off of Mahomes. And you see Hendrickson just has a short angle to be able to get back there, and he takes advantage of it. He throws that rip in there, and he puts the big hit on him. So that's not a great play. And it all starts with just basic fundamental stuff. Like, I'll run it back here again. You're just going to see his – oh, yeah, go ahead.
I have a question for you actually on this, because I thought something that you might have do you think that him turning too, does that not help? Like, is Pacheco trying to chip him here at all? And like, I feel like turning might, does it kind of hurt his chance to do that?
I think, Pacheco's showing. I don't think, I think it's probably affecting it a little bit because it kind of cuts down on the time Pacheco does have the chip, because you see how fast that Hendrickson does get back there. I mean, if he does stay more square and he's got his shoulders turned, maybe Pacheco has a better angle. I mean, yeah, you're probably right, because he doesn't have the angle really here to be able to get a good shot on him. He's kind of just got to give his presence.
No, something I noticed during the game was just that, like Pacheco wasn't necessarily like, he looked like he was about to chip and then he wouldn't, like you just said, showing. And I just didn't know if that was that was just the game plan, or they truly were like, he just couldn't for some reason, so that they may have just been showing, right? That may have just been the game plan to just not actually make contact, right? And Hendrickson got used to that second half, I feel like.
Yeah. And the other thing outside of that is his hands were really not good. You see here early, he fires out. His hands are out, but they're not doing anything. So Hendrickson will go slow-mo here. He's just going to slap them away, and then he just bulls into his chest and starts blowing him back. And no, his hands are spread out and wide here. He tries to reset them, but the play's already over because of the bad angle. So very disappointing rep, and it doesn't get a ton better from here. We get into the next play I have queued up. And it is a little bit frustrating and disappointing to see, because, I thought he showed some good flashes against Baltimore of being a good player. But this week, maybe they were trying to challenge him a little bit. They didn't give him much help. They wanted to see what they have. But we come down here to this play, and Hendrickson is lined out wide here, right? He's out wide. Now, Hendrickson isn't necessarily like the best power rusher in the world. He's more of a bendy, get off the edge, quick kind of guy, or throw a counter move and just keep playing. That's kind of been his MO his entire career. He's given like guys like Orlando Brown kind of a hard time with that. But this play right here, Kingsley sets up, and he's not terrible out of his stance. He's not slow. He's starting to get a little bit wide. He's starting to overset. And he's trying to come in with his hand right here. But this time Hendrickson just puts a straight bull rush on him, and he collapses on him. And that's not going to feel good on Mahomes at all, because, they're trying to take away a lot of those blindside blocks. But now what these defensive ends and guys are doing, they're coming in and they're wrapping the neck on quarterbacks pretty hard. And that's exactly what Hendrickson does there.
I feel like this is a good example maybe of a really good pass rusher setting it up as the game goes on, because this was later in the game, right? And yeah, you can just tell Hendrickson's really, setting up, like you said, the outside rush, and then he just makes that move in, and Kingsley just is lost. So yeah,
and look right here, I almost feel like Kingsley is trying to keep him wide, because he comes in real hard with that right inside hand, but he's cutting down the angle still. Pacheco is kind of creeping up like he was going to try to throw something, but Hendrickson kind of works away from it, and now it's just a bull rush to the quarterback, and he's got the inside one. When Kingsley gets about into this position where he starts to feel Hendrickson going inside, he really needs to try to set his anchor down and start trying to power down with his inside foot and get big, but he's getting overpowered here. So he can't really do that. And it ends up being a sack on the play. Not good.
Yeah, and obviously a rookie, another thing that he's going to learn, and Andy, I'm sure, gets on him about this, is that body language, right? A 21-year-old, we just saw a few snaps where afterwards, he's visibly upset. Maybe, that first one I was going to mention, you want to, go straight to picking up the quarterback. He got hit by two players. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot to learn from this game, but like rookies need that, right? Like that's how they get better is these kind of games that one thing while you're pulling it up, like Carson Steele fumbling, like honestly, that happened at a good time. I feel like before he became, maybe someone that might get the ball more with Isaiah Pacheco out. I think getting that first fumble out of the way, I think he's gonna hold that thing a little tighter next few games.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll just go ahead and call it here on that one. I don't think there's too much more. I had a couple of those holding clips. Some of the holding stuff is he's just not used to playing with Mahomes, so he doesn't really know when to let go. I don't think there's too much need to get into it after the second hold. That was his last play. He's visibly frustrated, so they took him out. They put Wanya in to end the game, and Wanya actually didn't do a terrible job, to be honest with you there. So,
well, let me ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask you about this play. Honestly, it was a play that kind of involved Kingsley. So we'll just talk about it real quick before we dive into Mahomes' overall day. This was actually a second interception. The great pick. You'll see. We all saw it. I mean, it was right in front of me at the stadium. It was him going up there. That was definitely a highlight reel play. But you'll see that Chiefs are going to go vertical in a quick pass set, right? And so quick pass set means the blockers know the ball's getting out quick. And so many times the tackles cut block, right? They're going to cut the edge rushers. Do you think, first of all, that has to do with the fact, because I feel like we don't see that a lot from the Chiefs, right? We don't I feel like we don't see a lot of necessarily just quick game and especially like cutting like that. Do you think that is because they weren't feeling good about how Kingsley was playing? This was kind of in the fourth quarter. And secondly, I guess, just how do you feel like he did this or on this cut block?
They've used it sparingly in the past with I've seen them do it before with different variations of guys. They even did a little bit with Fisher and Schwartz. It would just be these random spots. It was never really on these deep passes, though. It's usually on something over the middle or something quick out into the flat when they want to get the guy's hands down. It's never really been for like a big shot play like they're trying to pull off here. So that could be part of it. And to be honest with you, I don't think he did a horrible job. He didn't get his head around all the way. He does get Hendrickson's hands down, and that is the goal of it. Mahomes knows he has to get rid of it quick, even with Hendrickson coming up late. I don't think he's in danger of getting sacked. I will tell you, though, I do think later in the game, Mahomes was getting a little bit of the happy feet because he was getting hit off of that left end a little bit. Go back, and obviously on a cut, you do want to try to aim for the guy's, front thigh pad, kind of like you're going in to make a tackle, so that you can be able to just stop him there. Like Juwan did a good job on the opposite side. He gets the guy stopped, even knocks him down. That's a really good cut block by him. I don't think that's horrible by Kingsley, but it is interesting that they did go to this for a pass play that's developing 20 yards down the field and not something quick.
Yeah, and that is the key point that in the Mahomes part of this, or just in the offensive play calling maybe part of this that I did not like. Is when you do a quick pass, a quick set, quick pass protection, you have to predetermine your pass. You have to read pre-snap, and pretty much you're going once you get that one look. Obviously, you can't you read one player while you're loading up, but you're kind of committing yourself pre-snap, right? He's committing himself pre-snap to Xavier Worthy here. And if you watch Rashee Rice on the bottom, if he just, that he has an opportunity there where he gets on top. Xavier Worthy, against, a guy who has made a second team All Pro in Cam Taylor-Britt, the cornerback. Yeah, I don't like that play call because Mahomes is forced kind of to go here. And yeah, obviously he thinks Xavier Woods going to win off the line, but he doesn't get necessarily beat off the line, but Cam Taylor-Britt just does a good job of kind of keeping him at bay, keeping that hand on him and not letting him get past him. So yeah, I don't like that. And I do think some of that probably was from the fact that Kingsley wasn't necessarily holding up that blind side. They wanted to try to get some quick stuff going. But yeah, you're right. I think that's a really good point that you really don't see, that developing or, going downfield on those plays, but it's because maybe not the smartest thing to do. I think it's definitely a better play on those to, quick passes, outs, slants, stuff like that. So we are going to get into, Mahomes's performance. I tweeted it and I didn't realize it during the game, but he had the lowest passing yardage total he's ever had in a game, because the one game he had lower was the game he got injured in 2019 in Denver. Pretty wild that the Bengals continue to just give Mahomes these mental struggles, or just these kind of where he is just pressing a little bit, or maybe not pressing, where he's almost overcorrecting and he's holding on to the ball. Yeah, it happens exclusively against the Bengals, it feels like, and it happened pretty much right away in this game. This is not necessarily holding on to the ball, but what you're going to see here is pretty typical play they like to run. Kelsey's going to run a return while Rasheed runs the shallow route, and pretty much Mahomes is just reading the linebacker here, Logan Wilson, because if he takes too hard of steps towards Rasheed, Kelsey's going to have that window, right? Well, Logan Wilson, and this is something you'll notice about the Bengals defense, I think in any game, but it seems like especially in these Chiefs games, is, man, they close on zone throwing windows so fast, and that's what makes Mahomes uncomfortable and not confident. So you're going to see here that he does, take a step towards Rasheed, but he does, recover quickly, makes up ground. But I think Mahomes here just is forcing this ball so hard. Like he's just, and you're going to see it from the end zone angle. Actually, the broadcast did a pretty good job. Tony Romo said he dirted it on purpose. I actually don't think so. I think Tony Romo gave him a little credit there. I think he's just trying so hard to aim this throw, instead of just naturally throwing it like he would. The Bengals just kind of, again, this defense, they're pressing him a little bit, and his experience with them knowing they close on zone windows fast, something like that, he's really trying to aim it in there instead of just throwing it. And then the next play, 3rd and goal, is a play that could reminded me of the 2021 AFC Championship. Some of those red zone plays where Mahomes, just kind of looked lost in the pocket and scrambled around. It's the happy feet you just talked about, because there's really no reason to lose pocket integrity right here. The offensive line does a great job. I think, maybe the anticipation of Tooney or Kingsley losing one of these blocks, just because they are, kind of, active. The pass rushers are coming in active, but he could have just stood in there for a second. No one was open. That's one thing. And so I definitely understand that, but he didn't even give it a chance. So you're going to see Xavier Worthy cross the end zone. Bengals do a really good job turning around, picking it up. He recognizes that right away. It's not there. And so what he could have done is Rasheed right at the goal line right away. But that, again, to the earlier point, the Bengals close on stuff so fast, and Mahomes knows that. I think he just, isn't feeling that. And again, the check down is probably the right call, but getting into it like this definitely doesn't help Pacheco. I think that definitely didn't help him try to get in there. And so, I think there was some things about this Bengals defense, Lou Anarumo, that just continue to give him trouble. And you saw it on the very next offensive snap, interception on a very weird, just like, what play? You're just going to see that Mahomes is just really late. Like, he is just so late here, and there's no real reason why he is late. So they're going to line up in, unique formation. They have 3 people lined up in the backfield. Kelsey's one of them.
He's actually really awesome formation, by the way.
Yeah, and they've been going to that. They have been throwing out of it and, run your play action stuff out of it. I think it is great, but then also obviously you can run your power, your gap stuff out of it. You have those blockers right there. But yeah, so you're going to see that Watson on this side's going vertical, Pacheco's going to the flat, and what that is trying to do is just widen this linebacker who's going to kind of have this in a zone defense, just widen him enough for Kelsey to have a window, and that's what happens. Play action, you're going to see Kelsey kind of leak up the seam here. Ball should be on him right here, and the ball is released almost a full second later. It was just kind of odd because I don't know where else Mahomes would be reading this. I mean, it's clearly a play action play that is designed to get Kelsey room over the middle. I mean, while that's clearly what it is. We actually, now that I think about it, there was a play against the Bills that was very similar to this last year in the divisional round that they hit. But Mahomes is just late to this. He just gives the linebacker time to recover, read his eyes, and come over. And there's not even an angle to throw this anymore when he throws it, because Kelsey is already so deep. He can't get it. He can't. It's too tight of a window. You can't throw it over him at that point. The ball needs to be on him as he's turning right here. And if it is, look at Logan Wilson bailing in that Tampa 2, back turned. Kelsey has a big play here. But Mahomes is just late to it, and we'll get to the end zone view. But yeah, play action. I really just, what else is he looking for?
Can you go back just a touch? I want to see what he's kind of looking. You can go to the end zone view. I want to see where his. I'm curious. I wonder if he's looking to see what Xavier Worthy's going to do. I'm just curious if he was just thinking about that possibly. He doesn't really have anything. He's kind of just there to clear out space, but I'm just wondering if he thought maybe he might have something there for a second when he starts to kind of cut outside.
No, I agree, because he peaks at Logan Wilson, I feel like.
Yeah, unless he's trying to work him away and they just didn't buy the head fake.
Yeah, but that's, again, it's just one of those things where maybe, and again, maybe you're right. Like, he knows, the play is Kelsey, but he was just going to try to see what he had somewhere else real quick. But you just can't be this late. You just really can't. Really bad interception. Again, there's just no window there anymore. He just was too late to it. If he is going to take that time, he needs to know, and I know he knows, that he just has to check it down. Like, that's a young quarterback mistake to, still try to throw it in there after you're late, and Mahomes knew he was late. But again, just stuff like that where, here is another example of kind of being, you'd like this to hit a little more on time here. She's going to just run a deep comeback, or, a deep, not comeback, but, a sit route at the sticks. Another play action. And I feel like he just takes that extra hitch. Like, why is this not just out on that drop, on that last drop? I feel like this needs to be out. Boom. He just takes that extra hitch, allows the cornerback, which again is Cam Taylor-Britt, a very good cornerback, to recover. And Rasheed doesn't help him, really, honestly. This is not a very good route by Rasheed either, not coming back to the ball. But again, I feel like if you look at where Rasheed turns, or when Rasheed turns, the ball is not out. The ball should be out, on this play right here. The ball is not out yet. Mahomes still has it in his hand. I just think this Bengals defense just gives them a little, and you're going to see it here on this play. I thought this was a really good example of it later in the game. Noah Gray here is going to kind of find some space over the middle. But I do have to give credit to Logan Wilson on this play. He does a really good job of kind of taking both routes away. So you're going to see Xavier Worthy kind of go deep over. Mahomes wants that for sure. But you're going to see Logan Wilson right here kind of run with it for just a second. And so Mahomes goes to Noah Gray. But by the time he wants to go to Noah Gray, he doesn't feel good about it anymore, because there's a safety coming right on him. Again, the Bengals closing on these throwing windows. Again, they just make him uncomfortable. And they don't, like, this is a big pass play to Xavier Worthy, probably against anybody else, because that is a hard play for a linebacker to do. Or it's just a completion of no grade. It's one or the other. And the Bengals did a good job of taking both options away. And again, though, I think Mahomes, again, with timing, could have hit Noah Gray over the middle if he, if he did just kind of go to it. He was just really looking for Xavier Worthy there. So yeah, it was just kind of a consistent thing, even on this negated interception where, obviously it came back. The flag here, though, is on coverage down here, just being a little too aggressive with Kelsey. So it doesn't affect the play at all. So we can examine it. And he just I just don't really understand why he would think this was the play here. I understand he loves going to Watson on this route, but Rashid, has kind of the better route, I feel like, in terms of even before the play. I feel like Watson is almost, he's doing the clear out, but he is an option. I mean, you have this one high look. It is man coverage. He does initially get on top of him, but the corner does a good job of staying outside, so he does still have an angle to cut him off. And the pass, obviously, he gets hit as he throws, so it could have been a little better of a throw. But if you just look at Rashid here, I just feel like that was probably should have been the move the entire time. He probably should have went there the entire time, even pre-snap. Again, it's man coverage. Rashid's really going to sell that crossing route, which they love to throw. So it's understandable why a defender would break on that. And then he does, he would have had the first down. So we can be critical of that play as well. Mahomes just not reading it as well as you'd probably like. And honestly, this looper does come around late, so he does have the time to read it. I think he does just want that big play. Again, pressing against the Cincinnati Bengals. It's just a theme when he plays them. And again, the Chiefs willed their way to victory anyway. It was awesome. But it really was just kind of a weird play for Mahomes, or for a weird game for Mahomes. And not atypical against the Bengals, Caleb. So did you come away feeling like he played that bad or had like that career low of a yardage?
Not really. And here's the weird thing. The Chiefs ran the ball very well. They just got into positions where they couldn't run the ball. That shouldn't be forgotten in this. To where some of these drives they started, it was we don't need to throw the ball every play, because Pacheco, when they came out firing, he was getting 5 or 6 a pop. Carson Steele, he had the bad fumble, but he was money in the short yardage for the most part outside of that. So I think that's something also important to remember. But yeah, it just seems like he's pressing. I think that he wants to get Kelsey going. I think when Kelsey starts out slow like this, like he has so far this season, I think Mahomes is maybe trying to force something. He's trying to get it going. And they did have their connection late in the game that did get brought back due to the hold on Kingsley. But I would say that it's not anything to be too concerned about.
Right.
It's not the best football we've ever seen him play before, but they're still finding a way to get things done. We haven't even talked about it. The defense played great also, but I think it's going to get better. Not having Hollywood Brown throughout the offseason and OTAs and camp, and now not having him when you're trying to establish what you want to do on offense hurts a lot more than people thinks it does. Just because that's a guy that you have stuff drawn up for, you had planned out for, and now he's not going to be here probably all of the season. And now, go ahead.
Well, no, I honestly wanted to get back to your, you made a good point about the run game. And honestly, I'm glad you brought that up because the Chiefs did a really good job of keeping Kingsley out of, situations. He didn't have that many. They only had 9 third down opportunities. They actually only converted one of them. I think actually it might have been 1 for 8 on third down. But again, that actually speaks to, a little bit of the Kingsley thing that they only converted one of those third downs. But if you look at 2 of their touchdown drives, I think they had 1 third down combined on the 2 touchdown drives, the 2 long touchdown drives. They did a really good job of putting the pass offense in desirable situations, in advantageous situations. That's almost the craziest part about, it and how the Bengals just know how to defend the Chiefs. But you do have to give them credit, Caleb. I really feel like it is the Bengals just, Mahomes just has that respect almost for their defense where he sometimes doesn't want to pull the trigger, and then it just feels like he presses and pulls the trigger at almost the wrong times because, he's trying to make up for something else. Yeah, no, definitely an interesting, and glad we got that game out of the way. 2-0. You know, we'll see what the AFC North looks like, because both the Ravens and Bengals are 0-2, so they both still have opportunities to win that division, because I doubt the Steelers and Browns are going to keep it up. All right, well, shoot, Caleb, speaking of the Browns, I mean, we got a few minutes. We got a new Chiefs player. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of him. Running back Kareem Hunt is now on the Chiefs practice squad. So what do you know? I don't know. What initial reactions when you first saw that actually come down?
It didn't shock me. And the reason why is I was remembering back and I was like, oh, I was in college still the last time Kareem Hunt's played for us. Like, you could say whatever you want about the off-field stuff. It has been a while. Like, it was 2018 the last time he had a Chiefs uniform on.
6 years.
So we're not getting the same Kareem Hunt that we did that long ago. He's not going to be the same guy. But ironically, he's got a little bit left in the tank. And honestly, not playing as much as not being a feature back for the last 5 seasons has probably helped him prolong his career in some aspects, because he hasn't been the main guy in Cleveland. But because of injuries in their playoff game against the Texans last year, he did get some opportunities to play, and he scored both of their touchdowns, which is also very ironic that, he's scoring touchdowns in the playoffs, and he was like not on the, he was like, they picked him up early in last season, and then they were so ravaged with injuries by the time the season, was over. He was their feature back, or he was one of their feature backs in this playoff game. But just a little screen pass they designed for him in the goal line here. That number 15 for Cleveland's not as good as our number 15. That's Joe Flacco. But they just run like this little shovel type screen, something similar you'd see from the Chiefs, and breaks a couple tackles and powers his way on into the end zone, just like we're used to seeing from him. And Ron, he's not nearly as explosive or as athletic as he was those first 2 seasons. I don't think we're going to see Kareem like hurdling over people. Does that mean he can't carve out a role or be a productive player in Kansas City? I mean, I think he is going to be, a productive back here. I think that he's going to have a chance to come in and do a lot of, good things. And will they start him on the practice squad? Possibly. I think that's definitely, but something I'll tell you what, he still can block. And I still think that is important, because got a pretty good edge rusher down here in Houston, and they basically just leave Kareem on him one-on-one on this little play action rollout play with their old man quarterback, and he does a nice cut block to get him down. I'd like to think the Chiefs would have scored on that play, but Kareem still has it as far as the blocking goes, and that could be big. Why is that going to be big? The Chiefs are going to be throwing the ball quite a bit here. And, just having backs that pass protect is something that they've always kind of, needed to have. We'll get another play going here for Kareem.
Break this down, yeah.
Well, same one I just shared a second ago. I've doubled up on that one.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, Kareem, obviously, I think, one thing that's always a strong quality to have in a player you're bringing in is motivation. And he's going to have so much motivation to redeem himself in the uniform that, after missing out on the Super Bowls, man, missing out on the Mahomes era, he is going to be a motivated dude to try to get in on the this third Super Bowl here.
And here they are. They're getting blown out by the Texans in this game, and he's still hurdling into the end zone trying to score. You can see he's still got a little bit left. Maybe not quite as spectacular as it was his first couple seasons, but he's still a hammer down there on the goal line. And so when he was here the first time, the Chiefs' offensive line was pretty good. You got Fish, Mitchell, and Mitch Morse. The guard play wasn't as strong as it was now. The Chiefs were really more of a zone team. I'm actually curious to see how he's going to look in here with Creed and Trey and Tooney. And by the way, Creed and Trey those guys have been playing some pretty good football to start this season out. They're just blowing holes open all over the place. But you see this play, just a little draw, and he's still got some of that shake and contact balance in there to be able to break some tackles here and there. And this is the last game he played in. I mean, this was the playoff game last season. So I think that they're probably going to take some time to kind of ramp him up a little bit, to get him going. And I think that's fine. I think they're comfortable with where they're at. But like you said, you're going to get a motivated guy in here right now. And I do love that he's still a physical player. You see him on this blitz pickup right here, linebacker blitzing, chops him down, gets everyone's hands down, and it's a touchdown for Cleveland. And a lot of it's because if Kareem Hunt doesn't make this block, there's going to be a guy running at a 40-year-old straight up the middle, and they get it off. So still does a lot of the things that, we saw him do his first time around in Kansas City. What's he going to be? Is he going to be – I don't know if he's going to be the feature back. We don't know what's about to happen with Carson Steele. So Kareem Hunt is good insurance for that. We don't know, but is he going to be a third down back if P-Ron can't get going? I don't know either. So it's just good to have depth in a situation like this, and at the very minimum, he provides that. But I'm hoping that you see some of that spark come back that we did once see.
No, I think just, again, if your lead back is going to be an undrafted rookie free agent and your other back to spell him as someone that has only been here for a little bit, just get someone else in there, someone that, again, the scheme is a lot different than it was when Kareem was there. They always change it, but, he does maybe have that baseline. But all right, well, let's get out of here on that, Caleb. I really appreciate everyone joining tonight. Coming to, understand that, as Chiefs fans, as Super Bowl champs, as high expectations, man, we can't just look at the highlight reel plays after a big win, 2-0. It doesn't matter. We're making sure we're keeping them, honest with what's going on. And no, I'm really intrigued to see what happens with Kingsley this week. Andy obviously didn't even, cement him as a starter to start the week. So we'll see what happens. Appreciate everyone joining. Make sure you follow us both on Twitter at Ron_Kopp, at CJ Scoobs. We will be live next week to break down Chiefs Falcons, hopefully looking at 3-0. All right, we're out.